If you're a Sonic fan and you've been on Twitter in the last 24 hours, you've probably heard about the soon-to-be announced Sonic Generations Remaster. It's not confirmed yet at the time of this video upload, but so many sources have come out confirming this thing is happening, people are beyond speculation at this point. However, many are quick to point out that Generations is an unusual title to pick for the remaster treatment. Sure, the game is 13 years old this year, and it's not available on platforms like Nintendo Switch and PS5. However, the Steam version is still alive and well, and the Xbox Series X can play the original 360 version. There are other Sonic games, especially in the modern 3D era, that are much less accessible. I mean, people have been clamoring just for a port of Sonic Unleashed for as long as I can remember. Sonic 06 is trapped to 7th gen consoles, the storybook titles are on the Wii, not even coming to a console like the Switch, which has arguably better motion controls. And if you look at Sonic's handheld catalog, there are tons of great games that are essentially lost to time unless you can track down a physical copy. Or emulate, I don't judge. But my point is, Generations is a pretty easy to purchase game, so why now? Well, I can think of a few reasons. The first being that it's a good Sonic game. Remember, in 2011, 3D Sonic had finally found its footing with general audiences. Unleashed was a huge step up from the previous title, and Colors was universally loved at the time. Sonic Generations took what worked in Colors, mixed in some nostalgia, and had some of the best level design in the franchise. What you get is a game not only adored by Sonic fans, but everyone else as well. So what does that have to do with today? 2024. Well, Sonic is in a bit of a similar situation now as he was then. Some games that didn't sit right with too many people, and then starting to climb back up. I'll talk about Colors Ultimate in a bit. Though Sonic Frontiers isn't the 10 out of 10 game Sonic team wanted, a lot of people said it was a step in the right direction, and are eager to see what the next game brings to the table. So Sonic team, or more likely SEGA, wants to keep that positive momentum going. All it takes is one bad game to tarnish Sonic's reputation for a lot of people. If we go back to 2014, Sonic was doing alright. Lost World wasn't the best game, but no one was comparing it to, say, Sonic 06. In fact, they were comparing it to something else entirely. But then the next big Sonic game would come out at the end of the year. Sonic Boom: Rise of Lyric. Yeah, despite being a spin-off, Sonic Boom was everywhere on the internet, and no one was holding back. There are a lot of reasons for this, but I think the big one is that it was the first Sonic game to come out where content creation about video games was so popular. So everyone had an opportunity to trash the game and give their opinion, which they still do to this day. Then Sonic Forces hit, and for some people, Sonic was right back where he was in 2006. Just another string of bad games. The classics were the only good games. These were very real thoughts going around at the time. Now let's look at the past few Sonic games we've gotten recently. The four I want to take a look at are Sonic Colors Ultimate, Sonic Origins, Sonic Frontiers, and Sonic Superstars. All of these are well-received titles by general consumers. Sure, Colors Ultimate came out with a lot of glitches, especially on the Switch. Fans trash it all the time, but critics loved it. To a lesser extent, Superstars was the same. Sure, I hate this game, but that doesn't mean Johnny IGN does. In fact, if you look at these games, it's pretty obvious that SEGA and Sonic Team are trying to appeal to their general audience a lot more. I'd say the only one of these games that were a risk would be Frontiers. A risk that I think paid off. If you ask someone on the street if they thought new Sonic games were good, they'd probably be like, why the hell are you asking me this? We're in the middle of a highway. But then their answer would probably vary from person to person, versus how things were just 10 years ago where everybody and their mother knew how shitty Sonic Boom was. So that finally brings me back to the actual topic of this video, Sonic Generations. Widely considered one of the best 3D games in the franchise. Forget a remaster, a simple port of Generations would be a guaranteed grand slam. Even if it was released in a state as bad as Colors Ultimate was, people would complain about it on Twitter, giving the game more publicity, which would still drive up sales. But let's be a little more optimistic. Let's say this Generations port was good, then it would just be another entry in a row on the list of successful Sonic games. Sonic Unleashed is a game that's beloved by many Sonic fans, but outside of that core fan base, a lot of people don't like it. The Hedgehog and those Sun and Moon medals are the reasons many dropped the game back in the day, including me. Could a potential remaster fix some of these things? Sure, but it's a lot harder of a sell to casual audiences than Sonic Generations, which again is a universally loved game. But of course, according to the rumors, this isn't just a port, it's a remaster. Now there isn't really a solid definition for the word remaster, nor is there one for words like remake, the United Kingdom, or port. So it could mean anything. Some rumors are saying they could add a playable Shadow, with maybe an exclusive level or two from, say, Shadow the Hedgehog or Sonic Adventure 2. Most people don't know the plot of Generations, since after the second level it basically goes away. However, all of Sonic's friends get trapped in white space, and Shadow ends up in white space too, somehow despite not being at the party. How did he get there? That could be a cute little side story, maybe acting as the game's prologue. The same can be said about Silver, but they can't make Silver control as a clone of Sonic, so that'll never happen. I'd say this is the most likely outcome, as it would be a simple addition that could drive up sales. Plus, with the Sonic 3 movie coming out this year, SEGA is going to be marketing Shadow like it's 2001 all over again. Some people are hoping for more levels to be added to the main story. While I don't think this will happen, it would be pretty cool. Every Sonic fan has a dream level list for Sonic Generations. Levels from games that weren't included or even ones that were. Hell, Sonic has had 13 years of games after the release of Generations. It would be pretty easy to append the modern era and add levels from Lost World, Forces, and Frontier, or even the classic games, since we now have Mania and Superstars as well as all the other classic games that Generations skipped over. I don't think this will happen because if it is a remaster, that's a lot of effort to put into a remaster, which we all know SEGA doesn't like to do. What I do think is likely is that we'll see potential DLC packs. This was a seriously missed opportunity for Generations back in the day, and with how much SEGA likes to charge for DLC, I don't see them missing out again. There's also the content from the 3DS port of Sonic Generations, featuring a ton of levels exclusive to that version. I don't think this is happening because Generations on the 3DS is a completely different game from the console version. The way Sonic controls is more akin to the boost from the handheld games like Sonic Rush and Colors. Finally, even though I did nothing but praise the game this whole time, there are a couple problems with it. The PC port specifically still uses that god-awful style of launcher that a lot of early 3D Sonic games do, where you have to configure all of your video settings and controls in a tiny little window before playing the game. This was okay in 2004 with Sonic Heroes on the PC, but by 2011 it was already outdated. Troubleshooting this thing is really annoying. For some reason I can only play Sonic Generations on my right monitor. I don't know why. If I change it to anything else, it just freaks the fuck out. To have the opportunity to launch it like a normal game and configure those settings in-game would be greatly appreciated. An underrated feature of Generations that could benefit from being on modern platforms would be the game's online functionality. Not a lot of people talk about this, but the game has a really addicting mode called 30-second trial where you try to get as far as you can in the level in just under 30 seconds. Then you compare your progress with your friends. It's a lot of fun, and I remember getting pretty competitive with some of my friends back in the day. However, navigating the interface is a bit clunky. Other than that, I mean the game looks pretty even to this day, but I think a 4K remaster would go insanely hard. Just make the textures prettier and higher res and you'll have probably one of the best looking Sonic games on the market. Except Unleashed, I don't think they'll ever beat that one. Unless they remaster it, which is still on the table of course. I think these remasters of Sonic games selling well can only be a good thing for the eventual ports of other games. Games like Sonic 06, Unleashed, hell, even the storybook games, maybe one day. But I really want to know what you all think. Do you think a Sonic Generations remaster is happening and does it deserve one? If one does get announced, I'll be sure to have a follow-up video talking about some of the details, and I'd love to feature some of your comments as well.